Welcome back to Celestial Forge by Lord Rustabout. When we left off, the main character was considering keeping a bomb made by a bomb tinkerer, which means it would be more powerful than a normal bomb. That the person he was fighting called Oni Lee had dropped after smashing his arm. The main character smashed Oni Lee's arm, for clarification. And he finished speaking with the Undersiders. One thing I was certain about was nothing could reach my workshop when the door was closed. That was a piece of absolute knowledge that came when I got the power. I had enough steel in stock to build a container that would block any type of conventional signal. It's possible Bakuda uses something exotic and tinker-based for her triggers, but I doubt it would be universally implemented in handheld grenades. Not with how recently she triggered. I felt the Celestial Forge move again as a constellation approached. During the fight with Onili, my power had failed to latch onto one of the larger motes from the vehicle constellation. This time it had connected with a small mote from what turned out to be the Time constellation. The ability my power got wasn't specifically connected with Time, but the mote had a link to another much larger mote in the same constellation. Whatever that was, the first ability was necessary for whatever time power the second one represented. And I wasn't exactly disappointed with what I had connected to. The ability was called Scientist, Machinery. It represented doctorate level understanding of the actual science behind a specific field, in this case, machinery and mechanical applications. It also carried intelligence increase, though what that meant exactly was difficult to gauge. It would definitely help with my pseudo tinkering, but it wasn't some kind of serendipitous power that let me crack the secrets of Tinkertech explosives. Actually, it was possible that whatever caused this darkness to block the light also interfered with other signals. That would mean I had a window to lock down the bomb that would last until this cloud dissipated. I just needed to get to my workshop. I moved into the alley and hunted around until I found a door that would serve my purpose. I fished out my key, opened the way to my workshop, and barred the portal behind me. The inside was still lit, but wisps of eerie darkness slipped through the gap in the door. I ignored that and headed straight for my lab. Using every ounce of my new skills, I started tearing through my stock of materials to cobble together the most secure container I could manage. Multiple redundant Faraday cages, thick plates of steel, and an extensive grounding system covered it. The resulting structure would have to be dismantled for it to be moved, and was wedged in the furthest corner of my workshop to minimize any damage that could be caused. It was absolutely the best containment system capable of being constructed with my skill set and resources. Unless Bakuda uses some trigger mechanism completely removed from the electromagnetic communication, this would be able to block it. I still did all the work with my force field formula active and elected not to sleep in my usual workshop edition bed. Force field was seriously powerful for a defensive formula. It would completely block a single attack, regardless of strength. The reason I picked defend over it this evening was once that first attack was blocked, it was completely spent. It would have helped me against only one of the dozens of grenades I had been pelted with. Against this bomb, it would be able to save me, providing the effect didn't have multiple stages, or a persistent effect, or some kind of environmental change, or a chemical, or biological vector. In short, it provides some security, but nowhere near enough. By the time I finished work and changed back to my civilian wear, The darkness was fading to the occasional wisps of shadow. It was getting to be late enough at night that it could technically count as early in the morning, and I had the ill fortune of having to work tomorrow. I trudged back to my apartment in civilian wear, opened my workshop just long enough to grab my blankets and pillow, then collapsed in my apartment in an attempt to get as much sleep as possible before my alarm. I could sort out the rest of this mess tomorrow. And that marks the end of the chapter. Jim Chain's abilities this chapter. Black Thumb, Mad Max Collant, 100 points. You have the skills of an expert mechanic, able to keep vehicles running even in the most inhospitable conditions. Repairing and tuning up engines is your bread and butter, even while they're still operating. You also have a feel for how to upgrade cars in more esoteric ways. Hey, it takes skill to add that many spikes and not hurt the handling. Scientist, machinery, from Girl Genius. Cost 100 points. You have a doctorate and an actual science. Yes, those are full caps. That's why I said it like that. That doesn't need you to go crazy to work. Admittedly, it won't break the fabric of space and time, but meh. Trade-offs everywhere you go. You are highly trained in one field and can easily apply its principles to your work. After all, building a crazed abomination upon the natural order usually requires at least a smidgen of understanding of which bones are supposed to go where, even if you end up changing them around a little bit. At the very least, you're also in the genius range of standard intelligence. And since that's the end of the chapter, that's where we'll end off right now. Thanks for listening.